Back in the day, when Bill Clinton was running for president, his campaign had a really memorable slogan. "It's the economy, stupid. All other issues were just so much noise." As Barack Obama tries to figure out how to secure re-election in far worse economic circumstances, he and his supporters must be tempted to complain, "It's the stupid economy." When the financial crisis turned really nasty in 2008, all those economists who had notably failed to predict it were remarkably quick to propose remedies taken straight out of two Economics 101 textbooks. Followers of the late Milton Friedman urged the Federal Reserve to inject liquidity, printing money, to prevent even more bank failures after Lehman Brothers. Others wanted to go back even further in economic time to John Maynard Keynes. Writing in the 1930s, Keynes argued that in a depression, a government should compensate for a decline in private sector demand by large-scale borrowing and expenditure on public works. Now, Mr. Obama hired some pretty good economists from both camps, and he did more or less what they recommended. The Fed nearly tripled the monetary base, and the Treasury ran deficits of around 10% of gross domestic product. Well, these measures helped us avoid a Great Depression, but they conspicuously failed to produce a sustained recovery. Right now, to be precise, the US economy isn't growing at all. Stupid economy, dumb economy. Didn't you study any economics in college economy? You know, they say that generals are always fighting the last war. Maybe the problem today is that the economists are fighting the last depression. What they just don't seem to get is that this depression is different. Unlike in the Great Depression, the world's economies remain open and interconnected. As a result, stimulus tends to leak across borders, boosting the price of pork in China instead of helping homeowners in Nevada. It's really hard to predict how this kind of economic butterfly effect plays out. A final difference is that the Great Depression of the 1930s actually hit the rich hardest. This time around, inequality may actually have increased as a result of the crisis. And this limits the effectiveness of Keynesian policies because they need average households to boost their spending. So, what would it take under these specific circumstances to stimulate American companies to hire American workers? I believe the answer is to improve employers, workers, and consumers' incentives with a radical reform of our incredibly complicated and cumbersome tax system. Let's overhaul the vastly complex federal income tax, end the double taxation of savings, and replace the disastrous corporate tax, which weighs really heavily on small businesses, with a simple 8.5% business consumption tax. These aren't my ideas. I got them from Republican Congressman Paul Ryan. Oh, I said the word Republican, so half of you immediately stopped listening. But you know, earlier this year, President Obama said he was going to embrace Ryan's ideas on simplifying the tax system. But then Washington descended into an insane brawl about a completely arbitrary debt ceiling, and tax reform got forgotten. That's a real pity, because the reality is that the federal debt will just keep busting through each new ceiling as long as we kid ourselves that salvation lies in Keynesian stimulus, or for that matter, in austerity. So, it's not the economy that's stupid. I'm afraid it's actually the mainstream economists.